and enhanced ability to process them in psychologically healthy ways. People with certain mood disorders and PTSD often have difficulty sleeping, leading some scientists to believe that lack of dreaming may be a contributing factor to their illnesses. We dream to solve problems. Unconstrained by reality and the rules of conventional logic, in your dreams, your mind can create limitless scenarios to help you grasp problems and formulate solutions that you may not consider while awake. It's also how renowned chemist Auguste Kekule discovered the structure of the benzene molecule, and it's the reason that sometimes the best solution for a problem is to sleep on it. And those are just a few of the more prominent theories. As technology increases our capability for understanding the brain, it's possible that one day we will discover the definitive reason for them. But until that time arrives, we'll just have to keep on dreaming. Over to Ishani for a case study.
Hi guys, my name is Ashani and I'll be talking about few case studies. So before the event, we had asked the participants to fill out a form where we had given a slot for them to tell us about a few dreams that they would want us to analyze. And we got some amazing responses and we've analyzed a few of them for you guys. So the first case that we got was flying, being a superhuman. And the analysis that our team came up with was the following. So, flying can often have a positive or a negative meaning. But since this person also mentioned being a superhuman along with flying, so I'll go with positive on this one. So basically, this person has a great sense of individuality where he is breaking free from all these social norms and he is basically feeling like a very free person at this point of time. The other negative aspect that could be the case over here is that he has a desire to escape from the realities of life, but I think this is the positive one. And it basically involves the positive feelings of pleasure and depicts our strength and reflects shocking or unexpected displays of skill or power. This person is basically at this point feeling superior from the rest of his peers or anybody else surrounding him at the point of time. Thank you. And Aaron will be speaking about a very interesting topic now.
Thanks, yeah. So, hi guys, I'm Aryan, and I'm going to be going a little bit more into arguably one of the most, if not the most influential writing of psychology, which is based on dreams, which was done by the person whom you can see in the image, Sigmund Freud. So, Sigmund Freud is one out of two people in the world who was best at studying people who are unconscious, the first one being Bill Cosby. So, the way Freud analyzed dreams is he saw dreams as a way in which your mind continually still processes things that have happened in your daily life. And for me to explain that, I'll have to first explain what the mind was for Freud. So Freud depicted the mind, as you can see in the picture there, as an iceberg with three different layers. The top one, which is the metaphorical tip of the iceberg, was the conscious mind. The conscious mind consists of the thoughts or the images or the visuals that a person undergoes or experiences on a daily basis. The layer just below the water is the pre-conscious mind, or as he called it, the superego. Sorry, the conscious is called the ego and the pre-conscious is called the superego. Now, the pre-conscious are the rules, the regulations, and the definitions by which you live that life. And now the unconscious mind in this case are the latent hidden desires that a person possesses throughout their entire life, which are required, which they feel should be fulfilled, or they're not able to express because of XYZ reasons or societal confirmation. So Freud, in his own words, said that dreams are essentially a royal road along which a person can discover the truth of an unconscious process for themselves. And what led him onto this was something called the IRMA model. Sorry, that slide changed. Yeah, that's it. So the IRMA model was essentially something that happened to Freud personally, which he documented very heavily in his book, The Interpretation of Dreams, which he released in 1900, in which he states that in one of his dreams, he had a patient in front of him whose name was Irma. And within the dream itself, he was analyzing her symptoms which she was presenting. And in the same dream, he found another person whose name was Adam, And he noticed that Adam and Irma's symptoms were almost the same, even though Irma didn't show those symptoms initially when she came to him, which what made Freud realize that maybe there was a case of an injection which had been cross-contaminated when used between one to the other, which caused Irma to develop the same problems as Adam did. And the more Freud analyzes, the more he realized that this was probably his brain reminding him or showing him the hidden or latent guilt that he had possessed of misdiagnosing some of his patients or not being able to cure some of his patients thoroughly. And through this one dream, Freud managed to extrapolate upon it and bring us a very nice, a very comprehensive theory on what dream analysis could be. And he divided this into two particular stages. Next, please. So essentially, Freud described dream making as a part of two separate processes that worked in tandem with each other to give you a certain dream. So the first one was called manifest content, and the second was latent content. So manifest content, as I said earlier, was the observations of the conscious mind, the images, the visuals, the conversations, the places, every single thing that you observe on a daily basis is all part of manifest content, where it takes it in and uses that. If I want to describe this in a perfect way, I can call it a movie set. So your dreams are movie set, and manifest content are the objects or the people within those movie sets who are acting around, and you're the lead character. Now, latent content is an interesting part of this entire process, because latent content is what is defined as your unconscious mind or your hidden, most innate desires are being projected or are being executed upon in your dreams. But due to, as I said, the subconscious and the preconscious and the conscious working together to create rules and regulations and way to live, your unconscious mind is the wishes and the dreams are slightly warped, or they are slightly changed, or there's a different interpretation taken out of it to hence give you something which is called latent content. And these two working together give you a complete and cohesive, ironically, a cohesive dream. And Freud decided, okay, fine. You know what? I know how a dream is made, but how do I analyze it? How do I make sense of a dream? So he decided to use a process or a technique which is called free association, which he used quite actively in dream interpretation, which essentially involves the analysis of a specific symbol or a specific incident or a specific happening in a dream, and then analyzing the preceding thought that comes to the person when they talk about this. What is your immediate reaction to this thing that happened in a dream? So this is exactly how Freud kind of made sense of all of this. And there were 4 possible interpretations of what could happen in a dream according to Sigmund Freud. The first process being displacement. Now, displacement in psychological terms means when you take yourself out of the equation and you place your desires or your wants or your need in another person or in another thing. It's when you completely disassociate yourself from it. Symbolization is when your unconscious desires are being represented, or the repressed urges and desires are being metaphorically acted out in not an exact way, but it's in the sense of, okay, this is related to what I want, but not exactly that. Projection is where you completely place your own personal desires or your wishes or your wants onto something else. And condensation is, say you have 4 certain wants or needs, and there's a one common point between these 4. What essentially we do is we tend to find the common point and we condense all those 4 things into this. Like if we have that one thing, these other 4 are satisfied. These are the 4 possible interpretations that Freud had. And remember, I'm repeating the word desire, wants, and needs, because as Malika said, your dreams are essentially the gateway to fulfilling your desires. And this is the entire thing that Freud based his thing on. And the last process that Freud used was rationalization. Now, he defined rationalization as your brain taking a step back, seeing all these 4 possible interpretations and arranging them in some sort of order, and that gives you the final product of a dream. So this is what Freud thought a dream would be. And I would like to hand it over to the next speaker. So Tanisha, take away.
Okay. Before I begin, somebody had raised their hand. May I know the query? Hello? Okay, I'll start. Hello everyone, I'm Tanisha, and I also did this dream analysis on this very interesting dream. So it says, I sometimes see flashes of vague abstract figures right after which I wake up. This has happened a lot of times and I'm curious. So this is what exactly the dreamer observed. Now, I would like to say that different colors in dreams have different meanings associated with it. Bright colors give you a more positive impact. Dark colors leads to a very negative impact, and so on and so forth. So, basically, the kind of colors which was experienced was dirty, dark, and now if I'll start explaining, dreaming in brown color basically suggests that the dreamer is seeking for physical comfort through food, uh, sleep, shelter, etc. Dirty brown color means that the dream includes some kind of illness or some kind of problem which is happening. Whereas wooden brown color shows the concern about home, family, children, or even the search for one's nth root or true self. Coming on to the black color we'll always associate with something worse happening, or a bad situation the person is encountering. So it basically can indicate feelings of hatred, fear, anger, and even darkness. Now, according to some other theory, it also suggests the fact that the color black can also mean a situation where a person is coming out of a very bad or a very pathetic situation and will have a new beginning or will start a new beginning. So that's all for the analysis, and now Shivangi will take over.
Hi. So I'll be talking about typical dreams and their significance. Dream interpretation isn't a straightforward method. In fact, most scientists and psychologists accept dreams and their meanings as unsolved mysteries. However, there are some extremely common dreams that we all have had at some point or the other, and I shall also be talking about what these dreams might signify. The first is falling. This dream is common in people who are having a major life problem with work, relationships, or elsewhere, and it is often quoted as the red flag from the subconscious. Losing teeth. This dream is supposedly a sign that something has happened in the dreamer's life that has caused him or her to lose confidence. Showing up to school or workplace naked. This dream represents vulnerability and anxiety. Research reveals that this dream is common in those people who have accepted a promotion, a new job, or have been recently thrust in public view. Tests, oh my god, these are so stressful. So, this dream is often associated with work stress or fear of failure and is often seen in students who have a very important exam coming up. Generally, perfectionists tend to have these kind of recurring dreams about tests and is associated with high levels of stress and anxiety. Death. This dream can be a manifestation of a deep rooted fear of losing a loved one or the life changes that can be expected after their passing away. It may also reveal a desire to terminate something in life, either a relationship, a job, a career path, or even the past. Meeting a celebrity. It may reveal what talents the dreamer values, and it is often thought that celebrities are a symbol of a personal need for recognition. Everybody does want their own 15 minutes of fame, and meeting a celebrity in their dreams is an indication of that. And when we talk about dreamer values, say, for example, I love singing and I want to be a great singer. So I might meet my favorite singer, let's say Taylor Swift, in my dream. Cheating partner. This dream should not be taken as clairvoyance. A lack of trust in a romantic relationship may spark this dream. It may happen if your partner is spending too much time or attention on something that does not involve you. However, I assure all couples to not read too much into this. Over to Ishani for a case study.
So the study that we observed in my dream, I failed in my board exams. Okay, sorry about that. I passed boards long ago, and I'm intern now. So basically, I would like to start by saying that any dream that we experience could be related to our life in the past or in the present. So basically, maybe at the time when you were giving your boards, you maybe were feeling extremely inferior or not good enough, and that's why you are getting that dream now, because you're probably going through the same sort of feelings at this point of time. Also, this sort of a dream is a very strong message from a subconscious that we really need to remove all the blocks from our emotions at that point of time and look into what the matter actually is. And things could be really uncomfortable around you right now, but you are just ignoring all of that. Okay, and not trying to be a therapist when I'm only trying to get through the first year of MBBS right now, but I would really suggest this person to take an entire day to himself or herself and try to figure out what the problem is and really do something about it. And Shivangi will once again be speaking about different types of dreams.
Types of dreams. Standard dreams. These include random flashes of scenes. An average person has around 4 to 6 dreams every day, but over 95% of these dreams are forgotten within half an hour of waking up. Nightmares. Nightmares are dreams that are scary or disturbing, and they may be caused by watching a horror film, sleep deprivation, or may even be side effects of medication. Daydreams. Daydreams occur consciously, but you may still feel like you're not fully awake or aware of your surroundings. Some research has shown that daydreaming about people you know predicts positive well being, while daydreaming about people you aren't close to can predict more loneliness and worse well being. Such people are often reported to be moony eyed. Recurring dreams. This usually means that there is something in your life that you have not acknowledged and is causing you stress of some sort. The dream repeats because you have not corrected the problem. Another theory is that people who experience recurring dreams have some sort of trauma in their past that they are trying to deal with. Prophetic dreams. Prophetic dreams are thought to be dreams that have foretold a future event. Some believe that a prophetic dream is just your subconscious anticipating a particular outcome and having you dream it to prepare. It is often associated with a sense of deja vu. False awakenings. False awakenings are a type of dream often where a person believes they've woken up, but they actually haven't. So if you've ever found yourself dreaming that you've woken up, you're brushing your teeth, getting ready, but it's actually part of a dream, this is just a false awakening. Now, it's time for another case study.
Okay. According to my study and analysis, there's another dream which I picked up to talk about. So it says, birds flying around a person in an enclosed area. I think you guys have observed that when a person dies or around the dead bodies, you might have seen crows, flying around. We don't associate it with a very good situation, right? But however, there's this one theory which says that the birds in dreams are usually very good signs because they associate us with the feelings of freedom, peace, harmony, balance, ideas, joy, and love. So, birds can symbolize freedom of thinking, our hopes and fears. They can also symbolize the situations in our life. Birds flying around a person in an enclosed area basically can uh, shows us that we might be having a chance, an opportunity given to us, but we just don't know how to utilize it. We have our achievements and we have our ways of coming out, but there is some obstructions in our path, and because of that, we are not able to achieve what we want to. Birds also symbolize spiritual connections. If you had a dream about a bird, it might be a sign of spiritual freedom you are experiencing. So yes, birds in a dream is a good sign, and that's all for my analysis. Next, Udita will be speaking. Thank you. Sorry, Shivangi, you will be taking over. Continue.
I'll be talking about the impact of daily life on dreams. First is color. New research suggests that the type of television you watched as a child has a profound effect on the color of your dream. So while almost all under the age of 25 dream in color, thousands of over 55 years, all of whom were brought up with a black and white set, often dream in monochrome, even now. Violence and video games. Levels of aggression in gamer dreams also include hyperviolence, not unlike that of an R-rated movie, as opposed to a non-gamer PG-13 dream. It can also stem from the fear of a lack of control, repressed anger, or increased level of emotional triggers. Drugs. When users experience extremely vivid hallucinogenic dreams, a vast majority report disturbed sleep pattern with recurring nightmares. In the long run, it might lead to sleep disorders such as insomnia and narcolepsy. Emotions associated with dreams. Researchers discovered that there's a greater tendency for negative emotions experienced during waking hours to manifest within dreams, especially sadness, fear, anger, and anxiety. Positive emotions did not significantly manifest in dreams. Also, suppression of feelings is associated with poor sleep quality and correlates with anxiety, depression, and stress. Over to Ishani.
Another case study that was uh, of being on a beach many times, where after a while I was drowning in the huge waves. Okay, so waves in our dreams signify a great deal of emotions, or it could also mean that we are going through a series of very not emotions, important events in our life at that point of time. So when we talk about drowning in waves, it means that the waves are overpowering us. And when we say that the waves are overpowering us, it basically means that at that point we are not able to control all the emotions, or we are not able to adjust to all the events, the new events that are occurring in our life at that point of time. Secondly, it could also signify that the person has addiction to drugs or alcohol, and they seriously need to break free from it, obviously. And it could indicate us being unable to control a few very important decisions of our life, because we are being manipulated by someone around us, and which we don't really want to accept, because we never want to accept that someone's manipulating us. But this is something that our subconscious is trying to. Okay. Over to Udita. She'll be talking about lucid dreaming.
So hi everyone, my name is Udita and I'll be talking about lucid dreaming, dream continuity and sleep paralysis. So starting with lucid dreaming, did you know that an average human spends 1/3 of his lifetime sleeping and dreaming? What if I tell you that you can utilize this time quite productively, or just make use of this time and make it one of the most fun, lively and rejuvenating experiences after an entire day? You could actually enter your dream world, experience what it feels like to be in there. You can go wherever, meet whoever, and do whatever you want to do. There are no limitations, no restrictions that the reality imposes on us. And all of this is possible through lucid dreaming. Now, we were going through the responses, and a lot of people want to know what lucid dreaming is about, and we've tried our best to cover whatever we could have done. Now, lucid dreaming is a concept which was popularized in the movie Inception, in which a character had said, well, dreams, they feel real while we are in them, right? It's only when we wake up we realize that something was actually strange. True, for most of the people. But, however, there are some people who are able to enter a dream and be fully aware of the fact that they are actually dreaming. And this is known as lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is when you're conscious during a dream. So now, to put it in simple words, if you describe a normal dream as watching a movie, you would describe a lucid dream as playing a video game. which means that you can actually control certain elements of your dreams. Next slide, please. Now, there are a lot of benefits that lucid dreaming offers if you start practicing it consciously. First is less anxiety. It might serve as a therapy for people who have nightmares, teaching them how to control their dreams, or standing up to a bully, overcoming fear of public speaking, etc. So now I would like to share one of my personal experiences. Some time ago, I was in the middle of a nightmare. It was something related to our school getting invaded by a terrorist organization, and they were about to shoot all the children. And this was actually instigating a lot of fear in my mind at that point of time. But suddenly there was just a voice in my head that told me that I need to calm down because this is just a dream and none of this is actually happening in reality. And at that point of time, my fear just vanished away. So this is one way how we can actually overcome the fear of nightmares. Second is better motor skills. Now, there have been a lot of studies that suggest that the same part of your brain turns active whether you imagine the movements while you're awake or run through them in your lucid dream or actually practice them in reality, which means that you can actually become better at a motor skill if you try practicing it in your lucid dreaming stage, and the results would actually show in reality. Next is improved problem solving. Now, a lot of monks who practice meditation, a lot of people who are into meditation and yoga, they also practice lucid dreaming because according to them, by practicing lucid dreaming, you can actually attain a state of the same level of awareness, enlightenment, and consciousness as they do that through meditation. So what actually happens is that your conscious mind, it becomes very easy for your conscious mind to connect with your subconscious at that particular stage. And as we know, our subconscious has a lot of solutions and answers to a lot of our questions and problems. So it can be an amazing technique to actually ask your subconscious for guidance in life. Next is more creativity. Lucid dreams can be an endless source of artistic inspiration. So a lot of people who struggle in reality for some kind of authentic creative thoughts, a lot of artists, they try to practice lucid dreaming because it becomes very easy for them to come up with great ideas while they are in that particular stage. Next slide. So now we'll be talking about the risks that are associated with lucid dreaming. Studies have suggested that lucid dreaming is relatively safe. It's quite harmless, but there are certain things that we need to keep in mind before we actually try it by ourselves. First is that, you know, if you are a person who already is facing some kind of sleep disorder like insomnia, and what can happen is while you are to keep yourself aware during a lucid dream stage, you might just wake up in the middle of the night, and then it can be very hard for you to go back to sleep. So it's not recommended for people who are facing certain kind of sleep disorders. Next, if you have a past history of a mental health disorder such as hallucinations, it is not recommended to practice lucid dreaming because lucid dreams may blur the line between what's real and what's imagined. And yes, another condition called sleep paralysis, it can also be associated with lucid dreaming, which we'll be discussing about further in detail. Now, the question is how to practice lucid dreaming. There are a lot of techniques that you can use to practice lucid dreaming. First is reality testing. This basically means that you inculcate a lot of reality checks, 5 to 10 times a day. You inculcate reality checks in your normal day. What this means is that when you move from one environment to another, you have to ask yourself one question, and that is, am I dreaming? Now, it might sound quite weird that why are we asking ourselves that we are dreaming when we're actually not. But what this would actually do is that when you observe around, your mind would start eventually integrating reality checks, these kind of reality checks in your dream. And that would really help your mind to differentiate between your dream and your reality. Next technique is wake back to bed, in which you need to set an alarm, and after having 5 hours of good sleep, what you need to do is that you need to wake up and then walk for 10 minutes. And while walking, you need to think about that the next time you'll go to sleep, you'll enter the lucid dreaming stage. What this would do is that it would reprogram your mind into believing that the next time you go back to bed, you would enter the lucid dreaming stage, and it'll make it very easy for you to enter that stage. Next is mnemonic induced lucid dreaming, mild technique. This is for beginners. This is something similar to wake back to bed, but in this, after having 5 hours of sleep, you need to wake up and then you need to affirm to yourself again and again for 5 to 7 minutes that the next time that you'll go back to bed, you'll enter the lucid dreaming stage. Next is maintaining a dream diary. Now, a lot of people, they forget about their dreams as soon as they wake up within 10 to 15 minutes, and you don't have to let that happen. So what you can do is that you can actually maintain a dream diary or journal. You can keep it beside your bed, and as soon as you wake up in the morning, you need to note down whatever you remember from the previous night's dream, whatever detail that you can remember, whatever you experienced, your emotions, feelings, everything. And you need to keep doing that for a few weeks. When you'll do that and you'll reread it, your mind will actually understand your dream pattern. So the next time you'll go to bed and you'll dream, it'll be easier for your mind to differentiate between your dreams and reality. Next, there are a lot of devices such as hairbands which have light or music that help you to attain the lucid dream stage. Now, a lot of these techniques you shouldn't expect the results if you try them once or twice, because it takes days, weeks, and even months to actually consciously start practicing lucid dreaming. It doesn't happen overnight. So if you want to try it and first time you try it and doesn't work out, so don't be disheartened. Just keep some patience and go ahead, try it a lot of times, because your mind needs time to kind of program itself. And this is something which does not happen naturally, though studies have suggested that 55% of the population has experienced a lucid dream once or twice in their lifetime, but that can happen accidentally. But if you want to do it consciously, if you want to induce it, then it will take time. Yeah, next slide. Now, dream continuity. So have you ever had a dream you wouldn't mind getting back to? Have you ever had a dream that left you feeling angry or upset and you wish you could change the dream's outcome? Have you ever been in the middle of dreaming something really pleasant and that you would love to get a chance to finish? So the answer to all of these questions is yes, you can continue your dreams and pick up where you left off. Next slide. So how do you continue the same dream? To continue a dream you just had, try not to open your eyes after you wake up. If you do open your eyes, close them again quickly, because stimuli in your bedroom will dissipate the dream. Next, quickly think of how you will handle the dream. If you can get back into it, then let yourself fall back to sleep. If you do it right and don't get too excited, you'll end up with a lucid dream and the memory of how you wanted to handle the scary part or a pleasant dream. Next. Now, how do you continue the previous night's dream? Now, this is a bit tricky. To continue a dream that you had the night before, you need to do this. First, get ready for bed and make sure you're nice and tired and ready to go to sleep. Then lie down in your bed on your back with your eyes closed and replay the previous night's dream in your head. Now, this is where the dream journal comes into play. Concentrating on every detail you can remember and how you felt in the dream. Next, let yourself fall asleep when you get near to the point where your dream let off. Now again, these techniques, if it doesn't work in the first time, you need to give your mind some time, because it takes time for your mind to get programmed to things which are not quite natural. Moving ahead. Now, sleep paralysis. This is a very common experience that a lot of people face, but people are not aware of this. They do not really know that we actually have a term called sleep paralysis describing it. So now, have you ever experienced your eyes opening suddenly in the middle of the night and the rest of the body is paralyzed, which means that you can't move, you can't speak, and all of this lasts for a few seconds to a few minutes. People have also reported experiencing hallucinations, such as the sense that someone is in your room, the sensation of something pressing on your chest and choking you, an image of a monster, witch, demon, or other menacing figure. So now, time and again, people have associated sleep paralysis with some kind of evil or demonic intervention in their bedrooms in the middle of the night, or some kind of paranormal activity. So if you've ever experienced any of this, you can take a sigh of relief. It is very normal. It has some science behind it, which we'll be talking about. Next slide. Now, why and how does sleep paralysis happen? Now, while sleeping, particularly in the REM stage of sleep, when the body relaxes and the voluntary muscles do not move because they are paralyzed. Now, this is a protective mechanism of your brain that prevents people from injuring themselves due to acting out dreams. Now, in sleep paralysis, the body's transition to or from REM sleep is out of sync with the brain, which means that if you wake up before your REM stage of sleep is over, you can actually experience sleep paralysis. The person's consciousness is awake, but their body remains in the paralyzed sleep state. This can happen due to a lot of reasons. First, because of stress, sleep deprivation, changing sleep schedules, substance abuse, and other sleep disorders like narcolepsy. Now, sleep paralysis in itself is not a sleep disorder, but it can be accompanied with other sleep disorders like narcolepsy. And again, this basically means that if you're not having a good 8-hour sleep and your sleep cycle is disturbed because of any reason, you can experience this. Now, next slide, please. Now, what to do? Now, if next time you find yourself in such a situation, we have 5 tips that can help you to wake up from sleep paralysis. First is don't fight. Struggling to get up will increase the feeling of being pinned down, thereby increasing fear. Second, relax. Tell yourself that you are aware that this is sleep paralysis and you are okay. Don't resist the pressure you feel on your chest. You can try clenching your fists or wiggling your toes. Next is breathe, because often people forget to breathe when they are in the situation, so just focus on your breath. Next tip is to make a face. Now, when you realize that you are in sleep paralysis, make a face like you just smell something really bad. Scrunch up your face and squint. Repeat this twice or thrice, and the sleep paralysis will break almost immediately. Now, that was it. Tanisha would be presenting the next case.
Okay, before I begin, someone had raised their hand. May I know the query?
Hi, Shivam this side.
Hi.
First of all, I want to say that Rita, you are so cute. Your voice is so cute. So my question is first question is regarding the lucid dreaming. Is it possible that I can hurt myself in lucid dreaming? Like, suppose I'm dreaming and I know that I am dreaming. I'm quite conscious about the fact that I'm dreaming. And if I want to get out of that dream and I'm like cutting my hand through a blade or using anything else, but you know that I'm not 100% sure whether I am in a dream or I am in a reality. So is it possible that I can hurt myself?
See, for normal people who are not facing any kind of sleep disorder, again, we cannot really act out in our dreams because we have this whole protective mechanism where our body is paralyzed. But if you have any past history of something like REM sleep disorder, then please do not try lucid dreaming. Where like in general, if okay. So, if you do not have a history of any kind of sleep disorder, it's perfectly safe. You can't hurt yourself physically.
Okay, no, my question was not regarding this. My question was regarding the fact that is it possible that I can hurt myself in reality? It's not about the dream. I can hurt myself in dream, I know, but can I hurt myself in reality?
See,
Is it possible?
I just
Because
mentioned
I
that,
mean, there were some. Sorry to disturb you. There were some cases when I read about that Sigmund Freud in his book of Psychology of Dreams, Sapno Ka Manovigyan, the book's name was this. So I have read over there, and I have read over the incidents where the lady was sitting beside a corpse, and due to the candle in her dream, due to the candle, the whole the whole body, the whole dead body even, it all burnt out. But in reality, when she woke up, then she saw that she literally like burned her father, her dead father. So that's what I'm trying to ask. Is it possible that I can hurt myself in reality also if I'm watching a dream regularly and I'm cutting my hand?
Do you have any past experience of facing any kind of sleep disorder in which you act out your dreams? If that is the case, then it is possible.
No,
If
no,
that's
no,
not
no.
the case, then it's not possible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? There were two hands that were raised. Someone else?
Hello. Yeah, hello. My name is Anand.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. See, can you speak something about sleepwalking, why it happens?
Sleepwalking. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
May I know who spoke
One
about
second,
sleep?
Tanisha, I'll take this.
Yeah. It was your part. I was about to say that.
Yeah, hi Anand, thanks for asking the question. So the thing is,
Yeah.
we're about sleepwalking and sleep talking. So this is a kind of sleep disorder. So I'm going to talk about it in a minute, and maybe then your query will be cleared. And if you have any more questions, you can ask again. I'm going to talk
Fine.
about the different
Okay,
kind
I'll
of sleep
wait.
disorders.
Sure. I'll wait.
Yeah,
I'll wait. Thank you so much.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I'll begin now. So there's this another dream I analyzed. It says, on the way to my home back, I always get lost in the known roads, like I never knew this path before, and it seems like a never-ending puzzle. Okay, scary. Uh, it is also based on my personal experience too. I guess most of us would have dreamt at least once about us getting lost. And I guess this mostly happens because of a change in our environment. If you have recently joined a new school, a new college, or new workplace, and you don't know and you're absolutely clueless as to what to do, how to talk, how to make new friends or colleagues or whosoever. It is said that the feeling of being lost could also stem from the loss of confidence. You may have a new task at hand but may not be able to execute it because you don't dare to do it. And that's what you experience in your dream or visualize in your dream. Unknown roads and then not being able to come out of it can also suggest the idea of hopelessness, confusion, which you are dealing with in real life too. And subconsciously, it is disturbing you or bothering you in your dream. So basically, it means that the unprepared for something and something new has come up and you don't know what to do, and that's why you are seeing these puzzles and unknown roads and getting lost and have no clue to do what. So I guess I'll hand it over to the next speaker.
Hi guys, I'm Ishita and I'm going to speak about the different sleep disorders and their causations. However, before I start talking about the sleep disorders, I'd like to tell you guys a story. So this story is about a guy called Mike Birbiglia, and this guy is a comedian. So this guy often noticed in his sleep over the years that he behaved unusual. He had some unusual kind of behaviors, and he used to sleepwalk sometimes. And so at one time when he was staying at a motel, he dreamed that there was a directed missile that was directly heading his way, and he saw a group of military personnel inside his motel room. So he went to them, got out of his bed while he was still sleeping, and got up to them and asked them, "Hey, so what's our plan of action over here? What are we going to do?" So what happened later was these people, these military personnel, they told him that it's come to their attention that this missile is directly headed towards him, like his exact coordinates are loaded into the missile. Now our friend Mike, he is in a dilemma, and being a good citizen, he decides that he's going to jump out the window in his dream. Now unfortunately, he also decides to jump out of the window in real life.
Now, two things that we note here are in this peculiar situation are one, that he jumped out the window from the second floor of the motel, and two, the window was closed. So this caused our friend Mike 33 stitches, a trip to the doctor, and a prenup from his fiance. So, however, this story that I told you, it's the reason for the story is because I wanted to tell you guys that there are nearly 80 clinically accepted sleep disorders. And now we're going to talk about the top 5 most common clinical disorders. The first one is insomnia. Now, at some or the other point in your lives, everyone has experienced sleep deprivation. Now, what happens here is for insomniacs, they after night, when they can't sleep, when sleepless nights pile up for them, they are unable to make sense of this situation, and when they look at their bedroom with anxiety. So now, night after night, not being able to sleep, it causes severe stress to them, and they can't break from the cycle of not being able to sleep. And even if these poor souls do get some kind of sleep, the quality of their sleep is, compromised. And when they wake up, they're still tired and exhausted. And for normal people who don't have this disorder, our brain recuperates while we're sleeping. While for people, on the other hand, for people who are suffering from insomnia, their brain works overtime when they're sleeping. And so it basically makes them completely tired and exhausted when they wake up. Now, the next disorder we're going to talk about is sleep apnea. Next slide, please, Tanisha. Right. Now, this disorder is something I'm pretty sure most of us have seen our dads doing. In simple terms and in layman language, it's basically a snoring disorder. And what happens is it causes irregular breathing and snoring patterns, and that leads to sleep apnea, which leads the person to momentarily stop breathing altogether until the oxygen levels in their body cause them to wake up again. And this can happen multiple times in a night, causing the person to wake up again tired and exhausted. Next slide, please. The next disorder we're going to talk about, Tanisha. Yeah, the next disorder we're going to talk about is narcolepsy. So I'm pretty sure, okay, sorry. Yeah, the next disorder we're going to talk about is parasomnia. So as our friend earlier mentioned about parasomnia, and they asked a question. So there's two kinds of parasomnia, essentially. There's sleep talking and then there's sleepwalking. Now, what happens in parasomnia is that our body is in the non-REM pattern and sleep, okay? So non-REM pattern means non-rapid eye movement cycle of our sleep. And in this cycle of our sleep, our brain is not paralyzed. Our brain doesn't paralyze our body. So we can move, physically act out our dreams. And that's why if your sleep is disturbed, sometimes it may lead to a small disturbance like the closing of a door or the creak of the fan. These small things can lead to a disturbance in your sleep, and this temporary disturbance causes you to, walk in your sleep or talk in your sleep. Now, sleep talking can involve the person mumbling, groaning, or having full-blown conversations. Interestingly enough, some people speak in entirely different languages. Like, I may not even know French, but if I have parasomnia and if I sleep talk, then I may speak in French. Okay, so now the next disorder we're going to talk about is narcolepsy. Now, I'm pretty sure this term kind of sounds complicated, right? So to simplify it, I'll give an example. Now, imagine that you're going on a road trip with your friends and it's 2 a.m. and now it's your turn to drive. And you are trying very hard to stay awake. And not surprisingly enough, you've used up all supplies of caffeine that you have, including the Red Bull cans. Now, what do? You force your brain to stay awake. You try to make yourself alert and as conscious as you can possibly do. So narcolepsy essentially is a disorder which causes overwhelming daytime drowsiness. It forces you exert physical control over your body in this disorder. People who suffer from this disorder, they cannot differentiate sometimes between realities and realities and when they're asleep. So the symptoms of narcolepsy include vivid hallucinations and episodes of muscle weakness. Now, can you go to the next slide, please, Tanisha? Now we're going to talk about REM behavior sleep disorder. As our friend Shivam asked earlier, this is what happens when this is the disorder which causes you to physically act out your dreams. And often the violent dreams are those which you act out. Now, what happens in REM behavior sleep disorder is that essentially under normal circumstances, people have a temporary phase of paralysis in their body when you're going through the REM stage of your sleep. So if my mom were to prick me with a needle in the arm while I'm in the REM stage of my sleep, I would not even notice. But for people who suffer from this disorder, REM behavior sleep disorder, unfortunately for them, this transitory paralysis, it is lost. And so that's what causes them to physically act out and produce dopamine in their body, enough dopamine in their body to act out their violent dreams. And like our friend Mike Birbiglia, the comedian, it often leads to self-injuries. Next slide, please, Tanisha. Okay, so right now we're going to talk about something called Deja Rev. Now, what Deja Rev essentially is it's kind of a small GIF, a momentary experience that you all have. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you know what Deja Vu is. So it's in French, it literally translates to already seen. However, people often confuse it with Deja Vu. And Deja Rev is something which is already dreamed. So imagine this, that you had a dream about going to an ice cream store and dropping your ice cream. And in that frame, you see a car coming towards you. Now that's it. That's the dream you had. But maybe a few days, weeks, or maybe even some months later, you actually visit that ice cream shop, not purposefully to actually, make your dreams come true. But coincidentally, you visit that ice cream shop, get an ice cream, it falls down, and you see the exact same frame that you saw in your dream, the fraction of a second, a GIF-like situation that happens to you. And then people believe that they can predict the future. However, that's not the case. And in olden times, actually, this is not a new phenomena. And in the older times, people just used to call it basic prophesying. And however, it's still scientific studies show that this is a very critical and weird phenomena that happens, and they don't have much research on it. However, it's still very weird to experience something out of a dream in real life. Okay, next slide, please. It's okay, Tanisha. Can you go to the next slide, please? Right. So now, yeah, it's okay. So now I'm going to speak about false memories. Now, has it ever happened to you that you slept during the day, or you took a nap? You were tired and you decided to take a nap, and a 20-minute nap decision turned out to be a 1-hour long nap. And then when you woke up, you felt as if whatever you dreamed about during the nap actually happened in real life. Now, scientists at Lancaster University, they conducted an experiment, and the results showed that naps are the reasons to false memories. Well, most of the times. Now, what happened in this experiment was the scientists called 60 students, both male and female, and divided them into 2 different groups. Now, one of the group took a nap and the other group did not. The average time for the nap was 1 hour and 45 minutes. And both the groups were shown a test, a word test kind of thing, before the nap and after the nap. So there were words inside that test like sill, frame, okay, glass, and all of these words are related to one word, window, which was missing from that list. And now when after the nap, when people were asked, what what words did you see in the original list. So the people who took a nap, 75% of them reported to have seen the word window in it, and then many other unrelated words which were never actually present in the list in the first place. While on the other hand, the people who did not take a nap during the whole day, not even one, and trust me, I know it's tough. So the people who did not take a nap, they were asked this, they were given the same test, and only 15 to 20% of them, they pointed out having seen the word window, and the rest of them didn't. They correctly pointed out which words were present in the original list. And so why scientists say why this happens because while you take 20 to 30 minute short naps, your brain doesn't slip that easily and that fast into the REM stage of your sleep. But when you take very long naps, like 1 hour or 1.5 hour or 2 hours, in that time period, your brain slips into the REM stage of your sleep and you have very vivid dreams, which causes you to have false memories. And so this is it. That's my part. And now Smriti is going to speak about weird documented dreams.
Good evening to all of you. So my name is Smriti, and in this part of the session, I'm going to be sharing a few documented dreams that were horrifying and weird and just too crazy to be formulated by the brain. Okay, so have any of you seen this man in your dreams? Personally, I've never seen this man in my dreams, but it turns out around 2,000 unrelated people in the world claim to have seen him in their dreams. So it all started with a psychiatric patient sketching a man's face to his psychiatrist, who incessantly appeared in her dreams and on several occasions had given her life advice. So the psychiatrist keeps this sketch in his office, and yet another patient, after seeing this picture, makes the same claim and says that he had never seen this man in his life. So this psychiatrist was very interested in finding out more about this. So he sends this picture out to his colleagues to find out whether their patients too have had such dreams. So soon this word spreads, and this man is speculated to have come in about 2,000 people's dreams. So on researching the background of all these people who have seen this man, they found no correlation between all these people. And the craziest part is that no living man has ever recognized to look like this man. Next slide. So there have been several theories that citing the cause for this bizarre image. So one of the prominent theories is the archetype theory of Carl Jung. So according to this theory, this man is an archetypal image belonging to the collective unconscious that often resurfaces in times of extreme struggle or hardships or any stressful life event. The religious theory says that this is the image of the creator and that this may be one of the forms that the creator is manifesting in our dreams. Then comes the dream surfer theory. It is pretty interesting, but it's the least scientific theory. But if you've seen the Korean movie Lucid Dream, you would probably give this a thought. So according to this theory, this man is a real person who is able to enter dreams by various psychological skills. The dream imitation theory, it's a psychosociological theory. It emphasizes that this dream arose casually and developed by imitation. Like when people are exposed to information like this, they often get very deeply immersed into this, that their subconscious dreams of this man. And the last theory is that of daytime recognition. And it says that this could just be a portrayal of vague faces that we see, but we do not exactly remember. So it often becomes a fabricated image, such like this man. So whether this man exists or not is a far-fetched topic, but it definitely does make a fascinating claim. So now I would be sharing one of my experiences. So I live in a single room, and no, I'm not afraid of living alone. So I had to go for this event at around 2:30 in the noon, and I came back to my room after lunch around 1:30 and decided, okay, why not take a nap? Because I hadn't really gotten much sleep the previous night, and not that I really need a reason to sleep. So I was sleeping, and I'm not even 100% certain whether this was a dream or was it sleep paralysis. So I began sleeping, and all of a sudden I had this urge to just get up and check my phone. So I tried getting up, I tried lifting my head, but it felt like there was this invisible barricade over me that I was able to lift my head only 10 to 20 degrees and I just couldn't lift it anymore. So I decided I'll try to get up after some time. And after a while of definitely not sleeping and trying to conjure ways of trying to break through this barricade, I decided to lift my head again. But this time my head and chest was maintained at this 20 to 30 degree angle and I just couldn't go back down. And I felt like this barricade was just sucking the life out of me like a dementor. So I tried to get my hands to grab my phone, which was on my bedside table, but it felt like my hands and legs were just shackled and I just couldn't move whatsoever. So this part was very similar to a previous sleep paralysis experience that I had had where I couldn't move my limbs. So I was constantly struggling for like solid 10 minutes. And then I think the dementor realized that it was just pointless sucking the life out of a lifeless person. And the next minute I was finally able to move and I woke up all drenched in sweat and I was shaking. So the funniest part is I'm not even sure if my eyes were open or closed and whether all of this was just a dream or was it actually sleep paralysis. So this was definitely very distressing and an unsettling experience that I would never want anyone to go through. So I'm pretty sure all of us have in some point or the other experienced supernatural or horrific dreams in which people like Freddy Krueger come to avenge his death and you try to seek for means to escape or just hope that someone jolts you awake like an Inception. So well, terrifying as it can be, can you even imagine being a 3-year-old and having such dreams? So my little cousin, he's just over 3. He sleeps in between his parents every night. So one evening we were playing some board game and he whispers that he's really scared. And he was unable to articulate his thoughts and he just starts crying frantically. And he says that there's a ghost in the bedroom. I don't want to go in there. So he's never mentioned such a thing before. So we tried to get as much information as possible from him. So his dream goes like this. He's in a train which is going to some random destination. And there is this figure which is wearing this white cloth. It has huge eyes, but it doesn't have a nose. And it's wearing pink and black trousers. So he sees this figure and all of a sudden it starts chasing him and he starts running. And this was all just too much for him to take in. So he opened his eyes and he claims to have seen this figure move across the room. And every day he keeps remembering it despite our recurrent lectures on the non-existence of such apparitions. So on trying to decipher his dream, we realized that he indeed did not see such an image because so the drapes in the room were partially open and a light from a car outside came in and went by as the car passed. So it was really hilarious to us as it was scary to him. Nevertheless, it will forever be a story to tell him once he grows up. Over to Tanisha for another case analysis.
Okay, so I have included 2 dreams analysis. So I found this really interesting, and even I've heard my brother talk about having such kinds of nightmares or dreams, and I have even seen him waking up from a nightmare. So it says, when I was little, I used to get recurring nightmares, some monster killing me, my family leaving me to get killed by someone, big scary ladies taking me away, etc., etc. Right when I'm about to die, I'd wake up. This happened almost every night, even though there was no apparent daytime triggers for the nightmare. Okay, so this could just be your body's physiological response to the fear of death. All of us fear death. But when it starts haunting us, this is what the nightmares do to us. It arouses a fear and jolts you awake while you are asleep. So, as a child, all of us have a fear or insecurity about losing our loved ones. It's the age we need lots of attention, love, and care. Having such nightmares points out the fear of losing your near and dear ones. I myself have had such experiences where I have seen my own death. I've seen my parents on the deathbed, and it's really scary to get such kind of nightmares. So it's basically an anxiety or a fear which is deep, which is very deep down inside your mind, and we usually don't talk about it, and hence during the sleep we experience such things. There's another dream which I would like to discuss. I dreamt that my favorite sports person was right in front of me. He had a "so, you're finally here" look on his face. I was asking him a question repeatedly, but he wasn't answering it. He was just staring at me. The sky took a weird, warm orange color. Suddenly, I was right beside him on a bus and we were talking about something. I don't remember what we were talking about. Then I felt happy and shook his hand, and then I woke up. Changing scene change scenario. Sorry. So changing of scenes in dreams is very common. Suddenly you are in your room, and then the next second you are in the garden, and then the next second you are on some hill. It's very common. So, dreaming about your favorite people or your celebrity or your sports person indicates that an idea of situation that you feel is more important than anything else in your life. Everyone wants to enjoy the achievement. Everyone wants to get appreciated, and everyone wants that 15 minutes of appreciation, as discussed by one of my friend earlier. Change of scenes is a very common phenomenon experienced by people. The sky turning orange indicates happiness and satisfaction after meeting the desired person. So, the warm orange color would mean that the person or the dreamer was content after meeting the person and now he's happy. So, that was all about the analysis of this very interesting dream. And now I would move ahead to the frequently asked questions, and there were some of the questions which we have talked about.
Something that everyone wonders is, do blind people dream and do they see in their dreams? So blind people do in fact dream, as dreaming is a function of the brain and not the eyes. And research says that blind people do have less visual imagery than sighted people. However, it also depends on the age at which they lost their sight. So blind people who lost their ability to see before 5 years of age have lesser images in their dreams. However, people who lost their sight later in their life have more visual dreams. People with congenital blindness experience their dreams through auditory, gustatory, and tactile sensations. But there is, however, extensive research which compares in utero eye movements to neural activity with that of blind people. So they found that fetal eye movements correspond to that of activity in the visual and frontal areas of the brain. That is, the visual system is active even before birth. So a lot of scientists argue that if fetuses can dream presumably with visual imagery without even having visual experience, they hypothesize that congenitally blind people during dreams can generate visual imagery without visual experience. But if you ask a congenitally blind person whether they see in their dreams, their answer would be no, because they don't exactly know what visual images are. So while they may not have images of the external world in their dreams, they might have dreams of blobs of color floating in the air, which arises due to the electrical fluctuations in the brain. So over to the next person.
I keep dreaming about my ex. What does that mean? While it may not actually mean anything and shouldn't be interpreted as a sign from the universe, experts suggest a few reasons for these recurring dreams. First is handling a rough breakup. So this might be when the ending was on bad terms, or perhaps he didn't get the closure that he was seeking. You could be subconsciously missing them or missing the feeling of trust or intimacy that comes with a relationship. And finally, it could even be PTSD from a toxic relationship.
Another most frequently asked question, and to people who suffer from sleep disorders and also in general, is how can I sleep more soundly? Now, what happens is today's youth, everyone likes to, use their mobile phone at the end of the bed, at the end of the day in their bed. They wake up and before even going to the toilet, everyone likes to use their phone, check their notifications. But and however tough it may be, it's still not healthy for you to use your phone at least prior to 30 minutes prior to when you're sleeping. Another thing that you can do to sleep more soundly is avoid stimulants. Now, stimulants like coffee, chocolate, and nicotine, alcohol, all of these look good on the surface. And although they might provide a temporary high for you, a temporary boost of adrenaline, it still in the long run will necessarily will cause will hinder your sleep pattern. Another thing that you can do to sleep more soundly is have a suitable sleep environment, and that's preferably suitable to you. So a preferably dark environment, somewhere quiet, somewhere cool enough for your body temperature to be normal, and any kind of noise, light, or change in temperature will inhibit deeper sleep. Another thing that you can do to sleep more soundly is follow children. Yeah, you heard me right, children, because children have a fixed sleeping routine and fixed sleep and wake cycles. Now, if you fix a routine and wake up and go to sleep the same time every day, your body will adjust to that time and recuperate more healthily as compared to the damage it will cause if you stay up late or if you wake up late or your sleep cycles aren't impaired. And so over to the next person.
Okay. In my dreams, there's always this one person, even if it starts in a completely different scenario, and I don't understand why. Okay. This is an example of recurring dreams or the dreams which have a continuity or same kind of dreams where you always dream about that one person. It is a very common phenomena with around 2/3 of us experiencing them. These dreams may not mean that you are obsessed with this individual, but may symbolize your feelings and worries about that regarding that person. It could be they are sharing certain important events of whatever is happening in their life, and because of that, you are also worried about them, and such worries are disturbing you in your sleep. It also indicates your own emotions and physical well being. It could imply that perhaps you are on some emotional journey, encountering distress or abuse from somebody in real life. Fear and anxiety are the main causes of such kind of dreams, basically regarding that one particular person. And that's all. Thank you so much. And hence we wrap up and we open our forum for other people to speak and put forward their questions.
Does anyone want to ask any questions or maybe share your own personal experiences?
Yeah, Anand is raising his hand. Anand, can you ask your question? Okay. Khushi Gupta?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
So, what would be you guys' interpretation about dreaming about being stuck in big, old, abandoned buildings?
Okay, I'll try. Perhaps loneliness, because big, old, abandoned buildings, and you do not see anyone, right?
Sometimes it could be other family members, but most of the time I don't see anyone.
So yeah, so it could be a loneliness because abandoned buildings and you can't see anyone. Emptiness, maybe you don't have some you are not able to share your thoughts with someone. You know, sharing of thoughts is a very important part. So perhaps all that could lead to. Someone else could also answer.
I think one thing that can mean Khushi, that an abandoned building could mean that you want to move past something in your life, and some or the other phase in your life is over, and you want to move past that. You want to remove it from your life. It could also mean that.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
No?
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, yes, you are.
Okay, this is slightly uncomfortable, but why do people have wet dreams?
What dreams?
Wet dreams.
It's usually when you have a sexually arousing dream during your sleep, and yeah, it's mostly it's by guys, and it's during the REM phase of sleep. That's mostly because you see something that is actually exciting for you.
Right, thank you.
Hello, I have a question. Uh, that sometimes I remember my dreams and sometimes I don't vividly remember the dreams. How does that happen? What are the factors that will determine whether I will remember my dream or not?
I'm sorry, could you repeat, please?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah, my question is sometimes we remember the dream very vividly. Sometimes we have kind of a vague, uh, just a vague pictures of the dream, and sometimes we don't remember anything, but we do have a feeling that we dreamt about something. So,
Mm-hmm.
how is that we have such different experiences? Why can't we remember our dreams every time, or why do we
It
forget something?
depends. It depends on which part of the brain is stimulated, what emotions are associated. So usually, if it's something very deep rooted, for example, fear, anxiety, or if it's something very happy, something that you've been wanting for a long time, you'll tend to remember it more because that's what your brain enjoys. That's this different part of the brain which has been stimulated. And besides that, researchers suggest that some dreams last for even like 3 or 6 seconds because they might just be random flashes. So the brain doesn't bother remembering it.
Also, some
And if you
studies
really
also
wanna,
suggest that if you're having an irregular sleep schedule, in which you're getting, in which there's an abrupt waking from the REM stage of sleep, then chances of recalling your dream and remembering them are high.
Ishan Sharma has a question. Ishan, guess he's not here. Guys, any more questions? Anyone?
Okay, I need to ask a question. Suppose if we have such sort of dreams and we wake up tired and exhausted, so is it possible that the person who's having a lot of dreams may get up tired and may lead to some psychosomatic problems with that person?
person may be suffering from narcolepsy, or maybe the sleep wasn't as sound as the person thinks it was.
Okay.
And I'd like to answer that. Sometimes during our REM phase of our sleep, along with dopamine, a lot of other stress hormones are also released. So that could be the reason that the more you dream, the more tired you wake up.
Thank you. Thank you for clearing my queries.
Any other questions, anyone?
Yes, I have one more question. During dreams, the kind of visualizations that we have are uh, they're so much in detail. Like if you want to think that with our conscious mind, it takes us more deeper visualization and even more time. But when in the dreaming stage, like those things happen very fast, like, and they happen automatically, which means that like the brain is visualizing much more better in that state. So like what reasons are involved during this thing? Like how is it different from normal thinking?
Could you just like summarize the question like into one sentence? Like what is the question?
Okay, so during dreaming, the how is the visualization different than when a person is awake? Why is it so much in detail, uh, and so many things are happening so fast?
Okay, I'll give you an example. Do you have many memories of your childhood, like from age 1 to 5? Do you have like a
Yes.
clear memory of a lot of things, or is it kind of scattered and you know that okay, this is something?
Yeah, it's kind of images.
Yeah, it's images, right? And so as you grew up and as you started, like most of us remember things that have happened a lot clearer after a certain stage in our life, right? After a point, we actually start forming coherent memories.
Yes.
And that happens through work, usage. So essentially, the parts of our head that are responsible for observation and like taking in information are used more and more, and they are being worked in a certain way that allows us to keep these things in process. Dreams, on the other hand, is a part where technically your body goes to sleep, and that's also where your brain's taking a break and the unconscious and subconscious part of your brain take place. Now, they are not always functioning an active role. So when you're giving something that's not had an active role all the time, something to do, there is going to be incoherence, right? People who have a control over that unconscious and subconscious state can lucid dream.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, because while dreaming, your subconscious and unconscious minds do not understand logic. So you can actually widen your imagination because your conscious mind does not have an active role to play. So that can lead to better visualization.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Also,
Yes.
also, I think another reason for could be that many of us, is that basically you mean that your dreams are more vivid and more visual than the reality, right? Sometimes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it could be because that during right, so it could be because while you're dreaming, the dream is from your mind, and all of those thoughts and pictures and sounds, they come from your mind and from the subconscious or unconscious level of your mind. And while we are living in real life, in reality, all of those things are fed to us as stimulants from the environment and through our senses. So our brain has to process all of that first. While you're dreaming, all of this is already coming from your brain. So no process is needed, Does this answer your question?
Yeah, it did it. Did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, guys. Am I audible?
Yep.
Yes, you are
Yeah.
audible.
Yeah, I had a question. In the movie Inception, it is shown that if we die in a dream, we wake up, but we can feel pain in dream. So is that true? Can we feel pain in our dreams?
I think no, because like dreams are a time when we don't feel. In fact, we see even negative things that have happened or normal negative things without any feelings, like with less of stress on that. So I think no, we cannot feel much in our dreams, and that is why, like I mentioned this in my speech as well, that like when you are dreaming something negative, you get a different perspective when you're watching it in your dream, because you are watching it without much emotions, and so you get to look at it in a different way. So yeah, I think that is it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any more questions, anyone?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, is it, would you say biologically, is it necessary to dream? Or if somebody dreams more or if somebody dreams less, does it make a difference on your brain health or memory and all of that? Or if let me simplify the question. If, say, I don't have dreams at all, or I don't remember dreams at all, is that a bad thing?
So, answering your question, now everybody has this REM stage of sleep at least 5 to 7 times when they sleep. If you talk about a good 8 hour sleep, and it depends from person to person. Everybody dreams. The only difference is that few people remember it and few people don't. So it completely varies. It's totally fine if you don't remember your dreams. It's actually your brain has this mechanism which finds remembering dreams not to be very useful. So when you wake up after 10 to 15 minutes, few people, even after a few seconds, they just forget their dreams. It's totally fine.
If you like want to try to remember your dream, so this is one very common and good practice, that you can maintain a book, a diary or something, and the moment you wake up, as much as you remember, like even the slightest things you remember, you can note them down. So like maybe then you can remember bits of your dreams, but it is very hard to actually remember the entire dream. This is how brain works.
Another thing that you can do is that before going to sleep, 5 minutes before, when you're actually very tired, um, your subconscious mind is very active. So you can actually affirm to yourself that tonight I will remember my dream. I will remember my dream tomorrow morning as well. And keep telling yourself the same thing again and again. Um, so that can actually help program your subconscious, and that can actually help you remember your dreams the next day as well.
The mild technique, basically. Yeah.
What?
The mild technique, MILD, in the morning.
That was for lucid dreaming. Yeah, but that's similar. Right. You can use it for this as well.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Any other questions?
Hello. Uh, Hello.
Yes, tell us.
May I express my views on the question asked?
Sure, go ahead.
The question was that someone has dream, repeated dream actually, from many times about the abandoned place. So basically, what happens in these circumstances is, as one of you said, that subconscious doesn't understand the logic, and it just represents in the feelings. So whenever abandonment, whether it is a feeling, whether it is a relationship, whether it is a work or the any attachment, if you abandon it, so one feeling or one picture that even almost the whole generation has of abandonment is the place which is abandoned, a building or maybe a bungalow, and that means that something was built to use, to utilize, or to make use of, but that utilization didn't take place, so that becomes abandoned. So this may be the symbolic representation that the person who is dreaming it had some work which she's supposed to do, or she had started, or whatever the thing is. So if she didn't complete that, and it got stuck in her subconscious mind that it was important, and effort was placed to build that thing, and then it was just abandoned. So unless and until that topic, that file get closed, she will repeatedly get a dream, and because she's scared and the mind knows that feeling of scaredness, that's why sometimes she may see with her the people who she trusts, like family members and all. So uh, so she had to miss, even medication will stop the temporarily, but that dream, unless and until that work is closed from the subconscious, it will recur. So this was my just explanation from my side, my view actually. So that is it okay, Miss? I have expressed my own approach.
Yes, of course.
So how do you actually suggest solving out the problem? Like
Uh,
according to your.
uh, See, the problem with these situations is that only the person who is feeling that he or she knows indeed that whatever has happened in the past, because we don't see the future generally, we see the past. And as you said, if someone sees the future, it may be some other correlation or just coincidence. Scientific research is yet to be done on those parts. So generally, people see the past, and we can only symbolize, or the dreams are symbolization, and we can only interpret those symbols. We cannot say that she did this work, she started this work, or she enrolled in this particular course, or she had what you can say, some promise to some relatives, or whatever the thing is, and it was important, and she didn't fulfill, or she didn't get that thing. So it's her, what you can say, a step
Okay, Sameer,
to realize. Yes. Yes.
you've read something or researched on this topic before?
Yeah,
Because
yes.
you
Psychology,
have.
philosophy, and
Okay,
yes.
then it's fine.
That's what.
Because even we
Uh,
can't suggest a lot of things because we are not psychologists, but
okay.
we were just telling stuff based
No,
on
no,
previous
no.
studies.
This was a good interaction. Yeah, even I'm an engineer, so not to get into that. So one question I would like to ask from your side, so that I may have some light on it. From my side, okay, this is my question: is that if I see, or some person sees a fire in his or her dream, what could be some very general interpretation of that?
Fire?
Fire, FIRE.
It could be your
It can symbolize
there's
destruction or
Symbolize, yes.
passion.
What
yeah, or
could be a
stress,
possible interpretation?
anger, jealousy,
Okay.
or you might be feeling that something is getting out of control, or it might be a dangerous obsession with something or someone. See, again, it's
Yeah.
open to interpretation. Does
It,
not
it can
always have to be.
actually, it can even
Okay.
symbolize some positive emotions like
So
desire.
Yeah,
let me
passion, desire, and all that.
exactly. So can I express my views, because I thought this particular element was missing in the presentation and everything was covered very beautifully. So I thought that let's have a complete perfect presentation.
Yeah, sure. Go
So,
ahead.
okay, one only the thing is, if suppose there is a winter outside and I'm in my blanket and I feel or I imagine a fire, that will be a beneficial thing. So if a person sees fire in their dream when winter is there, so that's a positive thing and good thing. But if the summer is there and everyone is just reluctant to the hot things, so at that time it suggests negative emotions. It creates negative emotions, and subconscious doesn't understand any of this, that fire is better or worse. It just gives out whatever the atmosphere, the body, what you can say, the body or the conscious mind or senses, basically. The senses provide the signal to it. Okay. Is that useful to you? Or that was my view, because I've learned these things from many interpretations that I have studied and talked to people about the dreams.
Yes, it was very useful. Yeah, really insightful.
It was useful. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even we are learning, even we are not that experienced in this field. So yeah, any information is really new information for us and we take it in.
Sure.
So thank you.
Okay, fine. Thanks.
Yeah.
We thank you all for attending our event and we hope you learned something new. You may leave now. Thank you.